Hello mathematicians, welcome back to Number Corner. For Number Corner today, we will be working with our calendar grid. Today, we are going to turn around all the calendar markers for the 5th set, April 18th through the 21st. As we look at our calendar markers, here are a few things to think about. Think about what you notice about the marker. I also want you to think about what the next marker will be. Let's have a look at our first marker in this set. What do you notice about this marker? Take a moment to think. Now you may have noticed a few different things. You may have noticed that we're looking at a garden bed again. This is much like our first garden bed we saw. That was a rectangle. Show a connection if you noticed that there are some vegetables growing in this garden bed. Do you know what those vegetables are? Thumbs up if you have an idea. Show a connection if you think that vegetable is cabbage. Good thinking, that is cabbage. It looks a lot like lettuce, too. With what you can see on our first marker, how many parts do we have of our garden bed? How many parts did you notice? You may have noticed our garden bed is in 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many parts have cabbage? Show a connection if you're thinking 1 part has cabbage. That's good thinking. Now make a prediction. What do you think our next calendar marker will look like? Put that prediction in your head. Let's see if your prediction is correct. Show a connection if your prediction was right. Is this what you thought you would see? What do you notice about this marker? How are the two markers so far alike and different? Think about the sections that the garden beds are split into. Are they the same or different? Take a moment to look at our markers. You may have noticed a few different things. You may have noticed that our parts are going in a different direction. We had our parts of our rectangle split up and down, and now they're split across or horizontally. You may also have noticed that we don't have 4 parts of our garden bed anymore. Show me on your fingers how many parts of our garden bed we have now. I should see you holding up 3 fingers for 1, 2, 3 parts. Did you notice how many parts have cabbage? Show me on your fingers how many parts have cabbage growing in them. I should see 1 finger. Just 1 of our 3 parts has cabbage. Can you make a prediction for what we'll see on our next calendar marker? Put that prediction in your head and let's see if you're correct. Show a connection if this is what you thought you would see. What do you notice about this marker? How are the markers alike and different? How many sections do you see? Take a moment to think. Now you may have noticed something that is the same. We still have cabbage in one part of our garden bed, just like on this marker and just like on this marker. How many parts do we have altogether? We have 2 parts. We have 2 equal parts of our garden bed, even though they're split a little differently with a diagonal line through the middle. What do you think will be on our last marker in this set? Thumbs up when you have an idea. Put that idea in your head. Let's see if it is correct. Is this what you thought you would see on our last calendar marker? Show a connection if this is what you were thinking. Now I want you to think. How are the markers alike? How are they different? How many sections are in this garden bed? Well, you may be thinking, this is just one section. It's the whole garden bed. And again, there's one section of cabbage in each garden bed. Well, now let's think a little more about our fractions. What fraction of each garden bed has been planted with cabbages? Well, for that, we need to think about how many parts we have in each calendar marker. Remember, when we write our fractions, we write how many parts we have all together on the bottom of our fraction. So on the marker for the 18th, show me on your fingers how many parts do we have. I should see 4 fingers. We have 4 parts. How many parts have cabbage growing in them? Show me on your fingers. I should see 1 finger. 1 part has cabbage, or 1/4. Let's look at the next one. How many parts do we have all together? Show me on your fingers. I should see 3 fingers. How many parts have cabbage? Show me on your fingers. Just 1, or 1/3 has cabbage. How about for the 20th? How many parts do you see? I should see 2 fingers, or 2 parts. How much has cabbage? Show me your fingers. Just 1 again. How about for our last one, how many parts? Oh, I should see 1 finger, and 1 part has cabbage, or the whole garden bed. Our fractions are changing a little differently in this set. They're changing on the bottom. We have 1 part with cabbage each time, but our parts are changing. Now let's fill in our calendar grid observations for what we're starting to notice. Now let's think first about our whole or our set. In our calendar markers, do we have one shape or object that's broken into different parts? Or do we have a group of objects that are changing, like with our fruits and vegetables? Show a connection if you're thinking, well, it's one whole piece, or one shape, or one item. Good thinking. It's a whole. We are looking at one whole garden bed. Now let's think about how many parts we see. Remember, our parts changed a little differently from our last garden bed. We start with 4 parts on the 18th. On the 19th, we have 3 parts. On the 20th, we have 2 parts. And on the 21st, just 1 part. Now let's think about some of those things we observed that we can write down. We observed on the 18th that there are 4 equal parts of our garden bed, and just 1 has cabbage. We also observed on the 19th that now we have 3 equal parts, and 1/3 has cabbage, while 2/3 or 2 parts do not. On the 20th, we have our garden bed split in half. It may be split in half a little differently than you've seen before. 1 of our 2 parts has cabbage. 1 of our 2 parts does not have cabbage. Then on the 21st, the whole garden bed has cabbage. You may have some different ideas of what you noticed or some different observations, and you now have a chance to share those in Seesaw. Your job is to go into Seesaw and share your ideas or your noticings with your teacher. Great work today, mathematicians. I will see you next time for Number Corner.